They don't leave you because you chase them. They leave because you chase too much. People are not drawn to what begs. They are pulled toward what stands still, unmoved, centered, whole without needing. There is a quiet power in being calm while the world spins around you. And that power is what makes them return. Not because you asked them to, but because your presence becomes the place their soul longs for. Think about this. Why do we always return to silence after noise? Why do we find comfort in the stillness of a fire that doesn't move toward us, yet warms us with its presence? That's what you must become, a fire that burns without seeking to consume. When you stop trying to impress, convince, or prove, something magical happens. You begin to radiate the kind of strength that cannot be faked. And strength, real strength, is unforgettable. In your daily life, notice how people tend to forget those who demand their attention, but remember deeply those who quietly mastered their own. You might know someone who rarely speaks, yet their presence shifts the whole room. You can't explain it. It's not their looks. It's not their voice. It's something deeper. That's Stoic energy, calm, contained, and compelling. It doesn't try to be noticed, yet it always is. Welcome to Book Boost. Here, we do not chase validation. We seek to build ourselves in silence until others feel the change in our presence. If you're ready to learn how to stop begging for loyalty and start becoming the kind of soul others don't want to lose, like, share, and subscribe. Drop down your one thought on believe in yourself in the comments below. We read them. We grow together. Now let's get real. If you want people to keep coming back to you, you must stop being emotionally available in every moment of weakness. You must stop over-explaining your worth. You must stop believing that closeness is always maintained by effort. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That is your answer. Not words, not promises, but action. Quiet action, day after day, not to keep someone, but to become someone they naturally return to. And when you become that, still, firm, grounded, they'll come back. Not because you asked, but because you became unforgettable. The unshaken presence, how Stoic men create gravity. There is a kind of strength that doesn't shout, a kind of presence that doesn't chase, doesn't convince, doesn't even explain itself. Yet, when it walks into a room, everything quiets down. People feel it. They feel steadiness, calmness, something rare, something secure. That kind of presence cannot be built through words or charm. It's born through discipline, through self-mastery, through the long practice of holding yourself together when everything else is falling apart. A man who lives by Stoic principles doesn't rush to react. He observes. He listens. He allows the storm to pass before making a move, because he knows the storm will always pass. And if he becomes the storm in return, he loses himself. He understands that power is not in control over others, but in control over self. And when a person reaches this level of composure, he becomes magnetic. People are drawn to him not for entertainment, but for the peace they feel in his presence. People do not stay where they are merely entertained. They stay where they feel seen, understood, and safe. The Stoic man doesn't offer fake peace. He offers real silence. He doesn't talk to fill gaps. He speaks when his words are necessary. And this makes each word count. It makes his presence feel different, more real. Because he is not trying to become someone else to keep people close. He is just fully himself. And that is rare. In a world full of noise, distractions, and masks, being your full self is a radical act. Let others chase attention. Let others lose sleep wondering how to be liked. The one who walks steady and quiet, knowing that his value doesn't need to be proved, becomes unforgettable. The world notices him without him trying. His value is not written on his face, but carved into his actions. That is the weight of presence. Not being loud, not being flashy, but being real, consistently, even when nobody is watching. This kind of presence is not built overnight. It's built in small choices. In how you hold your anger when someone disrespects you. In how you remain calm when someone tries to provoke you. In how you stay silent when your ego wants to prove a point. It's in how you continue to do your work, even when no one praises you. That is the kind of power that doesn't fade. It grows, slowly, quietly, like roots beneath the earth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This sentence is not just philosophy. It is a way of living. Because once you stop depending on people's approval, once you stop letting others shake you, once you stop reacting to every opinion, you become free. And with that freedom comes strength, the kind that others feel even when you say nothing. You see, when a man is not easily shaken, people naturally want to be around him. Not because he offers them a show, but because he offers them a sense of grounding. People return to what feels safe, not what feels desperate. They are drawn to what does not demand them. And in that paradox, the Stoic man becomes the center, not by pulling others in, but by standing so strong and quiet that others begin to orbit around his stillness. Even in relationships, the most attractive quality is not need. It's self-respect. It's being so full within that your peace cannot be stolen. It's not detachment out of fear, but detachment out of awareness. You understand that nothing is truly yours, not even the people you love. So, you do not hold with tight fists. You open your hands, and if they stay, they stay. If they leave, you remain whole. That kind of presence is irresistible, because it is rare, because it does not come from insecurity. It comes from the acceptance of impermanence. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And the bravest act in today's world is not shouting louder, but remaining unmoved by noise. The Stoic man's presence is quiet, but it leaves echoes. Not because he forces it to, but because what is deep always leaves a mark. Shallow waters make noise. Deep waters are still, and yet, they hold more life than the surface can ever reveal. People keep coming back to such a man because they feel different around him. He doesn't judge. He doesn't demand. He simply is. And being in his presence feels like standing near something unshakable. That kind of feeling creates emotional gravity. It draws people in, not with effort, but with essence. So, if your goal is to make them never want to leave, don't do it by holding tighter. Do it by becoming fuller. Do it by letting go of neediness. Do it by learning to sit with yourself in silence and walk alone with peace. The one who is good with his own company is never afraid of being left. And the one who is not afraid of being left, ironically, is the one people don't want to leave. The world chases people who are not chasing, because such people radiate the one thing everyone secretly craves: inner peace. Be the man who lives for that, not for control, not for validation, but for mastery over your own reactions, emotions, and thoughts. And when you do, you'll see, you don't have to hold on to others to make them stay. You just have to become someone who stands so still, so clear, and so grounded, that leaving you feels like walking away from solid ground into chaos. And no one wants that. Not for long. Not when they've felt the pull of a presence that doesn't move, yet never fades. That is the unshaken presence. That is your quiet gravity. And it is the beginning of everything. The power of inner absence. Why they feel you even in silence. There is a strange power in your absence, when it is shaped by discipline, not ego. Most people think they must constantly be seen, constantly be present, constantly make noise to be remembered. But the truth is quite different. Some of the strongest impressions are made in silence. Some of the most unforgettable presences are felt when they are no longer around. What matters is not how often you're there, but what you left behind when you were. We must understand this. Constant availability leads to emotional invisibility. When you are always there, always explaining, always present in someone else's story, you become ordinary. You blend into the background. Your value starts to feel replaceable. And the more you try to remind someone of your worth through your presence, the more they unconsciously begin to take it for granted. But the moment you retreat, not out of anger or punishment, but from inner control, they start to feel your weight. To live by Stoic principles means to master detachment. Not coldness, not cruelty, but a deliberate act of self-respect. You don't disappear to teach someone a lesson. You distance yourself to stay aligned with your values. And in doing so, you unknowingly become magnetic. You stop forcing connection. You stop explaining your feelings. You stop showing up in spaces that drain you. And slowly, your silence begins to echo louder than all your words ever did. Seneca once wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." That's the trap many fall into, thinking that they must be in everyone's lives, constantly involved, constantly checking in. But true depth is not found in presence alone. It's found in the way someone feels your essence, even when you're not around. This is what the Stoic trains for: the ability to walk away with grace and still be remembered not for the exit, but for the peace that remained after. There is a deep kind of intimacy that forms when you do not try to control how others perceive you. When you stop explaining yourself. When you stop fighting to be understood. When you retreat not out of pride, but out of principle. People start to wonder. They start to reflect. And more often than not, they come back, not because you asked, but because the absence of your calm presence becomes too loud to ignore. The world is obsessed with attention, but the Stoic learns to be unseen when necessary, to observe quietly, to speak only when words are needed. He does not chase. He does not shout. He simply becomes so grounded in his character, so rooted in his peace, that others are drawn to him even when he has gone silent. That is the kind of man who is remembered. That is the kind of person who does not have to ask to be valued. And when you think about the relationships in your life, friends, family, lovers, you'll start to see a pattern. The ones who begged and demanded and hovered are often forgotten. But the ones who gave space, who stood tall in their absence, who stayed true to themselves, those are the ones we crave, the ones we remember, the ones we miss. Not because they tried to stay, but because they knew when to leave. Epictetus reminds us, "He who is not master of himself is not free." So we learn to hold back. We learn to resist the pull of instant emotion. We learn not to respond to every message with urgency, not to react to every shift in mood, not to overexpress what should be quietly understood. Our calm becomes our power. Our absence becomes our teacher. And those who truly care, truly see, will feel it. You must understand, people don't remember what you said nearly as much as how you made them feel. And when you begin to master your inner world, when your peace no longer depends on their presence, they feel it. And they will remember it. You don't need to chase anyone who was meant for you. You only need to become someone worth returning to. And you do that not by shouting louder, but by standing still and letting your silence carry your strength. Absence reveals what presence once hid. When you're always available, people don't have time to understand your depth. But when you step back, when you create space, they start to feel the contrast. They begin to miss not your words, but the calm you brought. The safety, the quiet certainty that made their own chaos feel smaller. That is what keeps them thinking. That is what pulls them back. So don't fear being absent. Fear being forgettable. And the most forgettable people are not those who vanished, but those who were always there without ever becoming real. Choose instead to be deeply felt. And sometimes that means being silent. Sometimes that means disappearing. But always, it means being centered in yourself first. To be absent without losing presence. That is the mark of someone who has become whole. And once you become whole, people do not follow you because you beg. They follow you because you carry what they are still looking for. And they can feel it, even when you're no longer there. To be truly irresistible is not about charm or words. It is about something deeper, a quiet fortress built inside. A strength so firm that the storms of life cannot shake it. This inner fortress is not made by chasing others or craving their approval. It is built through mastery over oneself. Through learning to control the wild, destructive emotions that pull us away from peace and purpose. When you see people lose what they once held dear, it is often because they surrendered their center to fear, jealousy, or neediness. These emotions are the silent enemies that tear away the roots of any connection. Yet, the Stoics teach us that none of these feelings need to rule us. We have the power to choose how we respond. We have the power to build resilience that does not depend on others. This is what makes us magnetic. Not the fleeting passions, but the deep calm of a soul that has learned to master itself. Think of it like this. A mighty tree does not bend with every gust of wind. It stands firm because its roots dig deep. The stronger those roots, the less the tree sways. Your emotional mastery is like those roots. When you can watch your anger without exploding, your sadness without drowning, and your fears without surrendering, you become unshakable. That unshakable presence draws others in, naturally and without effort. The great Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This strength is not loud. It is not desperate. It is silent and steady. When you stop reacting to every slight, every disappointment, and every moment of loneliness, you stop giving away your power. Instead, you reclaim it. People feel this change, even if they do not understand it. They are drawn to it because it promises safety, reliability, and peace, things many desperately seek, but few find. Imagine now a person who no longer needs constant validation, who does not beg for attention or love, but holds it lightly, with confidence. This person does not chase. Instead, they become the kind of person others want to come back to, not because they are told to, but because being near them feels like coming home. That is the power of emotional mastery. It turns your presence into a magnet, simply because it is real. But how do we build this fortress inside? The answer is practice. Every day, we face moments where we can choose control or chaos. When someone tests our patience, when disappointment hits, when fear whispers in our ear, these moments are our training ground. We must learn to pause, to breathe, to remind ourselves that no external event controls our peace unless we allow it. This pause is a tool of the Stoic warrior. We do not deny emotions or pretend they do not exist. That is not strength, it is weakness. Instead, we see them clearly, like clouds passing through a bright sky. We acknowledge their presence, but we do not let them block the light. In this way, we do not become slaves to what happens around us. We become masters of what happens inside us. And that mastery cannot be taken away. There is a story about Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, who was born a slave. Despite his hardships, he taught that true freedom comes not from circumstances, but from how we govern our own minds. If a man can keep his soul free while chained, no one can truly own him. This is the example we must follow. Our emotional freedom is our strongest shield and our most attractive quality. When we build emotional mastery, we also learn the power of absence. People will come to respect and desire what they cannot always have. This is not about playing games or being cold. It is about valuing yourself enough to not be available on demand. The more we cling, the more we lose. The more we hold ourselves with quiet dignity, the more they want to stay. The lesson here is simple, yet profound. To keep others coming back, you must first keep yourself anchored. You must be someone who remains calm in the face of chaos, who does not crumble when challenges arise. You must be the one who does not react with desperation, but with thoughtful strength. This is the kind of person who leaves a lasting impression, not by words, but by presence. Over time, this inner work becomes a habit. It becomes a part of who you are. And as you grow stronger inside, the outer world will reflect that strength back to you. People sense when someone is built on shifting sands or when someone stands on solid ground. Your goal is to be the solid ground. Remember Seneca's words, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Often, it is our fears and doubts that push others away, not their actions. When we master our minds, we dissolve the imagined threats. We stop chasing shadows and start living in reality, a reality where we are enough, just as we are. This is why the Stoic path is not easy. It asks us to confront our darkest feelings and not run. It demands courage to look inward and shape ourselves into something unbreakable. But in that struggle, we find a freedom and magnetism unlike anything else. So, when you feel the urge to plead or the temptation to chase, pause. Remember that your true power lies in your ability to remain whole without needing others to complete you. This is what draws them back, the quiet, unshakable self that knows its worth. In the end, keeping them coming back is less about controlling their actions and more about mastering your own. Be the fortress, the calm eye of the storm, the flame that burns steadily without fear of extinction. This is the essence of Stoic magnetism,